Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Off the Shelf. I am your host, Runtime HD, and this week what we found off the shelf was...
Let's do it! It's the Zords!
Yeah, Zord Schmords, I'll crush them like roaches.
Ninja Zords! Rockets away!
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie, released in 1995. It is a non-canonical alternate opening to the third season of the Power Rangers show. And it was released in 1995, I said that. It was directed by Brian Spicer, who mainly directed TV shows before and after this. He did not direct that many movies. I think he directed a total of maybe 3-4 movies, including this one. But, okay, so I'm going to try to do this in one take. This film is starring Jason David Frank, David Yost, Amy Jo Johnson, Steve Cardenas, I believe is how you say his name. Yeah, Johnny Young Bosch, Karen Ashley, and Paul Freeman. Yeah! Was able to do it with little slip-ups. Anyway, this movie is a action, superhero movie, and I will say, I had high hopes for it because I'm not a huge Power Rangers fan, right? I've never seen a single episode of Power Rangers. Obviously, I've heard of it. I know it's based off Super Sentai, the original Japanese series, which I do have some interest in. I might want to check that one out, at least. I've heard good things about both. But I am a very new viewer to Power Rangers, right? But what I know Power Rangers for is big, dumb, like kaiju battles and, silly action and stuff like that. It's like campy, but in a good way, right? I wanted that, right? I wanted stupid, guys in suits and, dumb fun stuff. No, you get shitty CGI, motherfucker. The only good practical shit you get is in the first 30 minutes. And maybe in the last bit. But I'm just saying, this movie, I like it, but I also kind of don't. There are parts about it that I find really enjoyable. But the ending just really didn't do it for me. But before I talk about all that, how about I talk about the things that I did like? So what I did like is, I think the first, half an hour or so, really entertaining, good fun, right? I mean, I think probably the funniest joke, it has to be intentional, right? It is, they're doing the introductions where they're Tyrannosaurus, Triceratops, this and that. They're doing the introduction of their Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, right? They're morphing into the Rangers. And then they take so fucking long that the villains all ran away while they were doing it. That's funny, right? And oh man, that's great. There's gonna be other stuff. There's gonna be other stuff like that. No. There wasn't. That was the high point of the movie, was that little fight on the construction yard. Because then they just fucking brutalized these guys. They punched them so hard that they exploded, right? And that's great. I think that's fun. I wanted more of that. They literally, exploded into practical, purple ooze and blood and stuff. They got it all over the camera. It was, really brutal for no reason, and it was really funny. And then they weren't the Power Rangers for a majority of the movie, and then they were ninjas, which was fine. And then they just had lamer versions, lamer animals. Instead of, you want dinosaurs? You want a T-Rex? No. You get a frog. And an ape. Right, which apes are cool, but compared to a T-Rex, I think the T-Rex is gonna beat out the ape. Right? I'm just saying. And I don't know, it just felt, to me, for some reason, the movie just felt kind of boring at times. It just felt I was okay, when are we gonna get to the next action scene? Because I'm not watching this shit for the story. Does anybody watch Power Rangers for the story? No, they watch they're kids, right? Kids aren't watching this shit for the story. If they are, you're a nerd, right? You're a nerd. That's what you are, right? If most people watch Power Rangers for the action, right? They watch it for the high octane, super action, right? You know what I mean? And it had that, and when it was there, it was good, but it was few and far between. You know what I mean? I wanted more of it. And I think mainly the main problem with this is this movie, I feel like a small episode of Power Rangers, this could have worked as like maybe a 20-minute episode, but it wasn't 20 minutes long. It was 90 minutes, right? So they had to stretch it out a bit. They had to stretch it out, and that was a bit of the problem, right? And apparently this was the first piece of Power Rangers anything at the time to not use any archival footage from Super Sentai, which makes sense. I mean, you wouldn't want to use archival footage in a theatrical movie, right? But maybe that's also the problem. Maybe the archival footage is some of the best parts of it, right? Because, I mean, maybe that's where the kaiju battles come from. I don't know. I don't know the Power Rangers lore, right? I don't know, but I mean, I know some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, but it ain't pretty, right? And it's like, so the part that really made me mad is, like, the whole movie, I'm like, okay, we gotta get the Zord. We gotta get the big mech. We're gonna get the big kaiju mech fight. And we did. And it was, like, horrifying 1995 CGI. It was terrible. I mean, at the time, it was probably groundbreaking. Probably not. I mean, it looked like the fucking Lawnmower Man. But I'm just saying that it really took all the energy out of me. Because I'm like, I could be enjoying two guys in suits, like, wrestling each other on top of a diorama right now. That would be way more fun and entertaining than just really shitty Lawnmower Man CGI, right? And they weren't even that big. They were, like, maybe the size of, like, a 3-story building, right? Which is big, but not kaiju level big, right? And it's like, I wanted a kaiju battle. I didn't get that, And the thing that even made me mad is the Zord, the suit, like, the whatever it's called, got thrown through a building, and it was practical. They actually built, like, a little figurine to throw through a building that you saw for, like, 2 seconds. And I'm like, well, why didn't you make a suit? It was probably cheaper to make a suit. I mean, maybe not. I don't know, but it would have looked better either way. But whatever. They fight, and it's really awkward and stilted, and it doesn't look good. And then they go into space, right? And this guy, Ivan Ooze, his real name, which is funny, and I like it, because it's stupid, but he's been built up the whole movie as this really evil, dangerous bad guy. I mean, the usual villains of the week that, like, usually fight the Power Rangers are literally trapped in a snow globe for the whole movie. And at the end, they're cheering for the Power Rangers. They're mortal enemies. They're cheering for them to beat this guy because he's just so bad, right? I mean, also because he trapped them in a snow globe, so they want him to get killed by the Power Rangers. But I also thought that was kind of fun. The villains cheering for the good guys. I thought that was fun. But they go into space, and the fight has been going on for maybe a minute or two, right? And maybe it's just I've been watching too many kung fu movies where the final battle lasts like 15 minutes. But it was so quick and so abrupt that this guy didn't even feel like he was supposed to be as powerful as they said he was. Because this admittedly was a funny bit. I liked this bit. This is the last funny thing in the movie. Where there's like this only use an emergency, like a button in the cockpit. And the Yellow Ranger, she breaks in. They're like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm doing what must be done. Boom. And it's like, maybe they're like gonna self-destruct or like someone's gonna do something, whatever. No. It's the tried and true knee to the dick. The dick knee, right? The knee to the dick. I like how it had an emergency button for a knee to the dick. Okay, that's funny. I like that. And then as they knee him in the dick, he floats around in space and then gets hit and blown up by a comet. And that's fun. But then the movie ends on fireworks, and then there's this child with a baseball cap who's trying to save the people from killing themselves, the brainwashed people, the brainwashed parents from killing themselves. And I think he's a part of the show because the movie expected us to know who he was. I didn't. For the record, I didn't know who he was. Granted, it's because I haven't seen the show, so maybe that's the reason. No, it is the reason. But, yeah, that side plot was a little weird. And then there were these two weird, like, punk guys. They were, like, comic relief idiots, basically. And the only thing I liked about those guys was one of them had, like, a fucking black propeller hat. And I'm like, I need that hat. Like, it looks like a biker helmet, but with a propeller on top. And I'm like, that's metal. You know, there needs to be, like, a black metal band that's just, like, got the aesthetic of, like, you know, like, the stereotypical fat kid with a lollipop and a propeller hat. We need that band. One of these days I will make that band. But anyway, that was a bit of a side tangent. But either way, I did enjoy some things, but as I said, most of it was just kind of boring and meandering. And I just wasn't a huge fan of it. I do think it had potential, but it didn't meet its potential, in my opinion, especially with the shitty CGI nightmare at the end. With that being said, would I recommend this movie? I don't know. Do you like Power Rangers? If you like Power Rangers and you haven't seen this movie yet, maybe. If you don't like Power Rangers, no. Obviously, if you don't like it, why would you watch the movie? And if you've never seen Power Rangers, you should probably watch the show first. Because I was just in the dark the whole time. I'm like, who is this? What is that? What does that mean? Right? Like, I know the basics, but I don't really know the specifics, I guess. I wasn't invested, and especially since it's non-canon, so I guess it doesn't even matter in the grand scheme of things. But, with that being said, overall, I would say I was a little disappointed with this, and I feel like it could have been more fun. And with that being said, I think I would rate this film like a 6 out of 10. And, yeah, I think I've said what I need to say. I think I've said my piece. So, guys, hope you like this video. Share it with your friends. Subscribe. Turn those notifications on. Comment down below on how much you liked it. And I've been Running to HD. Off to morph into a ranger. I'd be the green one. I'd be the Green Ranger because that's my favorite color. That's it. I've heard the Green Ranger's cool. So that also is a plus. You know, I get the cool stuff. I get the cool Zord. I get the cool suit. I get the cool helmet. I get everything that's cool. And you're not cool, but I'm cool. And that's the difference. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. You're cool. But I'm cooler. It's just the way it is. It's kind of crazy to think about how, you know, this movie was just kind of... It makes me think about how movies for TV shows are usually never canon, right? Like, they might say they're canon, but, like, when you watch the show and then you watch the movie's either a prequel, which usually, whatever, and if it's during the events of the show, they never meet those characters ever again. Right? So it's basically non-canon. You'll never see them again. And the events will never be talked about. Right? And they even say that this movie isn't even canon. It's an alternate opening. An alternate opening, which I didn't even know was a thing, to the 3rd season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So it's like... So this isn't anything. Right? So it's just miscellaneous adventures that didn't happen. Right? And it's like, I mean, I guess it's like it's an episodic TV show, so I guess it's fine. But is it fine? Gotta think on that one. It's not fine. See you in the next video.